Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Perceptive Learning Zone. And I'm your mentor, Mr. Hamza Nasser. And today we are going to wrap up our discussion on the Epstein files and have a discussion on the mystery that surrounds his death, right? So a quick recap. On August 10th, 2019, the world, it woke up to the shocking news that American financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein had died inside a federal prison cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center. The authorities, they quickly ruled his death a suicide by hanging, yet almost immediately the official narrative was challenged. Epstein was awaiting trial on federal charges that were related to sex trafficking of minors, with accusations linking him to a vast network involving politicians, billionaires, celebrities, as well as royalty, right? Now, because of the magnitude of the scandal, his death before trial, it raised intense suspicion worldwide. So within hours of the announcement, social media platforms, they exploded with this speculation that Epstein had not died at all, that he had been secretly removed from prison with the help from powerful allies and replaced by a body double. The polls later showed that only 20% of Americans, they fully believed the official suicide explanation, right? This actually, I feel like it highlights how deeply the public has questioned the narrative. From viral photographs and missing surveillance footage to alleged procedural violations and mysterious notes, the Epstein case has become one of the most controversial death investigations of the 21st century. Also, I would say that one of the earliest pieces of evidence that was cited by conspiracy theorists, it involved viral photographs comparing Epstein's 2006 mugshot with an image of his alleged corpse released by the New York Post in 2019. Internet users claimed that certain facial features, especially the nose and the ears, they appeared noticeably different between the two photos. The supporters of the fake death theory, they argued that these discrepancies, they proved that the body was not that of Jeffrey Epstein, but rather a substitute that was basically used to, sort of fake his death. Also, fact checkers and forensic analysts, they investigated the images, ladies and gentlemen, and confirmed that they had not been digitally manipulated. However, experts pointed out that the photographs were taken 15 years apart and facial features naturally change with age. According to research from the Functional Anatomy Research Center, human ears and noses, they continue to grow throughout the adulthood, often becoming longer or drooping as the skin ends up losing its elasticity. This biological reality could easily explain the differences between the two photographs. Nevertheless, skeptics, they remain substantially unconvinced. They argue that some discrepancies were too dramatic to attribute solely to aging. The uncertainty surrounding the images created the first major crack in the official narrative, and this is fueling widespread belief that Jeffrey Epstein may have escaped justice by orchestrating a sophisticated deception. Also, I feel like even more troubling were the circumstances surrounding Epstein's death inside the Manhattan prison facility. The US Department of Justice later reported that the prison surveillance system, it was outdated and frequently it malfunctioned. On the night that Jeffrey Epstein died, two cameras positioned outside his cell, they mysteriously failed, and this meant that there was no footage showing what happened during the crucial hours before his death. Investigators, they discovered multiple procedural failures. Just weeks earlier, on July 23, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein had been found semi-conscious in a cell with injuries around his neck while sharing a cell with former police officer and murder suspect by the name of Nicholas Tartaglione. Although Tartaglione denied involvement and was cleared by the investigators, the incident has led prison officials to place Epstein on suicide watch, a highly restrictive protocol that was involving constant monitoring and removal of potentially dangerous objects. Shockingly, Epstein was removed from suicide watch after only 6 days following a psychiatric evaluation. He was then returned to the security housing unit, where inmates should have been checked every 30 minutes. However, on the night of his death, multiple safeguards they failed simultaneously. His cellmate was transferred and no replacement was assigned, leaving him alone. Also, two guards on duty by the name of Tova Noel and Michael Thomas, they failed to conduct required checks and allegedly they spent hours browsing the internet and sleeping during the shift. Also, the surveillance footage, it showed Noel briefly walking past Epstein's cell at 10:30 p.m., which was the last confirmed observation before his body was discovered the next morning. The guards later admitted to falsifying records to indicate that they had conducted regular checks, and though initially charged with conspiracy to falsify records, the charges were eventually dropped in exchange for 100 hours of community service each. Critics argue that the combination of sleeping guards, broken cameras, falsified records, and missing cellmate, they created a scenario so improbable that it appears almost impossible to have occurred by coincidence alone. Right? Also, after Epstein was discovered unresponsive at approximately 6:30 a.m. on the 10th of August, the prison staff attempted cardiopulmonary resuscitation before he was transported to a nearby hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 6:39 a.m. The official autopsy ruled the death a suicide by hanging. However, prominent forensic pathologist Michael Baden, who was hired by Epstein's brother, has raised serious doubts about this conclusion. Baden has argued vociferously that the death scene had been improperly handled. According to the Bureau of Prison Guidelines, the area should have been preserved at a crime scene, yet Epstein's body was removed before comprehensive photographs were taken. Also, when investigators later examined images of the cell, they noticed numerous irregularities, right? So, orange bed sheets were scattered around the cell, with one tied to the bunk and another hanging from the window grate. Two different nooses were visible, one that was frayed and the other one that was neatly folded, and yet records suggested the wrong one had been collected as evidence. Additional inconsistencies further fueled the speculation. Epstein reportedly had a ballpoint pen in his cell, something normally prohibited for inmates considered at risk of self-harm. His sleep apnea machine, it included a power cord that could have been used as a more effective ligature, raising questions about why he allegedly chose a bedsheet instead. Baden also noted that the marks on Epstein's neck did not fully match the typically pattern seen in suicides by hanging. More controversy now, fellas, it has emerged when investigators discovered two handwritten notes on a yellow legal pad inside the cell. These cryptic notes included words such as Israel, guards, visa, jet, and red notice, and Interpol alert that is used to track fugitives internationally. One phrase read, "Jail out is equals to 10, which conspiracy theorists interpreted as a coded reference to the 10th of August, the day Epstein died. Critics, however, argued that the notes could simply reflect the scattered thoughts of a distressed inmate. And also, I would say, fellas, that there are even stranger allegations which are surfacing, or which have already surfaced, to be more precise, in the year 2026. When documents referenced an anonymous post on the internet forum 4chan claiming that a medical worker had witnessed Epstein being wheeled out of the prison in a wheelchair on the night of his death. Though unverified, the claim has added yet another layer to the growing mythology that is surrounding the case. Also, other controversies involved Epstein's barbed wire tattoo, which appeared in older paragraphs but seemed absent in images of the body taken after his death. Additionally, an official press statement announcing Epstein's death, issued by then U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Epstein, was mistakenly dated August 9, a day before the alleged suicide. Officials later dismissed their discrepancy as a simple clerical error. So to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, more than 6 years after his death, the case of Jeffrey Epstein, it remains one of the most debated, criminal mysteries in modern history. And the combination, like I said before, of security failures, missing surveillance footage, disputed forensic evidence, and unanswered procedural questions, it has left millions skeptical of the official explanation. And while investigations by the US Department of Justice concluded that Epstein died by suicide, the unusual circumstances surrounding the event, they continue to fuel speculation that he may have been murdered or have been even secretly removed from prison. And whether the truth lies in bureaucratic incompetence, a criminal conspiracy, or simply coincidence, the Epstein case demonstrates how unresolved questions can transform a tragic death into a global mystery. Until clear evidence emerges, the world is left with the same haunting question: that did Jeffrey Epstein really die in that prison cell, or did one of the most notorious figures in modern history somehow manage to escape justice yet again? That'll be all for now, fellas. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Please don't hesitate to like, share, subscribe to Perceptive Running Zone. And your host, mentor Hamza Nasser, is going to be back, God willing, with more entertaining and illuminating content. Please stay blessed and keep rocking. Assalamu alaikum.